Hello and welcome to Sports Japan, where as always we keep you up to date with the latest in Japanese sports. On today's program, we present a special feature on Ryukyu classical martial arts from the islands of Okinawa. We take a look at some of the unusual weapons and complex techniques that characterize these traditional fighting styles.
Okinawa Prefecture is a chain of islands in southwestern Japan. With its subtropical climate and beautiful coastlines, it is one of Japan's leading holiday destinations. Long ago, Okinawa was an independent country known as the Ryukyu Kingdom. From 1429, Ryukyu existed as an independent state with its own unique culture for 450 years. During that time, Ryukyu classical martial arts developed as a means of self-defense. Kisho Inoue is helping to keep the culture of the classical martial arts alive. Today, he shows us some secret skills that have been passed down the generations. Masters of Ryukyu classical martial arts have complete control over their weapons.
Oh my, that was really amazing and thrilling. Thank you for your performance. So I heard that Ryukyu classical martial arts use some unusual weapons. So can you tell us about the weapon you have in your hand?
As you can see, this is an oar. But when it is used as a weapon, we call it an eiku. Legend has it that around 400 years ago, a man skilled at fighting with staffs was challenged to combat by the sea, and he used an oar to flick up sand at his opponent as they fought.
Wow, that's an interesting story.
The act of flicking sand at an opponent's face has survived as a formal technique. We can see it here. The eiku flicks up the sand, surprising the opponent and giving the attacker a chance to land a devastating blow to the throat. This unusual weapon is a distinctive feature of the Ryukyu arts. A different school of combat teaches fighting techniques that make use of a kuwa, or farming hoe. Of everyday implements in combat was the result of a 1613 edict banning the use of regular weapons. The prohibition meant people had to protect themselves by other means. Some of the items are quite unusual.
So is this tortoise shell also a weapon?
Yes, it's used as a shield. A long time ago, in addition to the tortoise shell, items like this shield here, weaved from wisteria vines, were also in circulation. In Okinawa, this is called a timbe, and this weapon here is called a rochin, and they're used in timbe jutsu.
The art of timbe jutsu is made up of many deflecting attacks.
For example, when the opponent attacks, you block the attack, blind the opponent and strike like this. You strike the opponent when they cannot see what you are doing.
You were totally blocking my sight, so I couldn't see what was going on. Wow, that is wonderful.
This implement is a sickle used for cutting grass.
You hold one in each hand, one to defend and one to attack. Sometimes you strike, and other times you latch onto the opponent's neck and cut like this.
Ryukyu classical martial arts frequently use everyday items, but the various fighting styles also have another point in common.
To a degree, there is an influence from China. For example, there are weapons of similar types used in Chinese martial arts.
Centuries ago, the Ryukyu kingdom prospered as a trading state linking Japan, China, and Southeast Asia. China was the largest trading nation, and its weapons arrived in Okinawa together with the flow of trade. One of the most well-known of these weapons is the nunchaku. Nunchaku were popularized by Bruce Lee in his kung fu films. In China, nunchaku are known as liangjie gun, or the two-section staff. Inoue sensei has spent a significant amount of time practicing the nunchaku.
When you catch the nunchaku, you should first take hold of the stick you are already holding with your other hand. If you try to grab the uncontrolled side first, you will struggle to get hold of it, and this will slow down your next action.
In practice, Inoue sensei emphasizes the importance of catching the weapon quickly after a strike. As nunchaku are not adapted for defense, it's important to attack quickly and be ready to continue the fight. Although it is not a very lethal weapon, the nunchaku can still do significant damage if used correctly. Practitioners need to master the art of striking hard in vulnerable areas. You strike the right leg first. Then you wield the weapon like this. You mustn't stand back, though. That would remove the meaning of the prior attack. After you strike the right leg, create a barrier, move forward, and catch the weapon. When catching the nunchaku, the weapon should be wielded in front of the opponent's face, as this prevents the opponent from closing in. In Ryukyu classical martial arts, a common piece of advice is to use both hands effectively. One weapon that symbolizes this approach is the tonfa, which is held in both hands. The basis of tonfa jutsu is to attack with one hand and defend with the other. Various types of attack are made possible by holding the weapon in different ways.
So I see there are a lot of thrusting movements in Ryukyu classical martial arts.
Yes, there is a lot of thrusting and striking. These techniques are used frequently. All weapons are like a part of the hand.
Weapons as an extension of the hand is a fundamental teaching of Ryukyu classical martial arts. This philosophy is closely linked to the martial art of karate, the current form of which was invented in Okinawa. Today, 100 million people around the world practice karate. It will become an official Olympic sport in the 2020 Tokyo Games, raising the sport's profile even further.
There seem to be many people who think that karate and Ryukyu classical martial arts are completely separate practices. But in fact, that is not the case at all.
The tonfa technique also incorporates karate. For example, this method of striking is known in karate as uraken. In karate, uraken means to strike with the back of the hand. While in Ryukyu classical martial arts, the tonfa is used, the hand moves in the same way as a karate technique. These similarities exist because karate also evolved under the influence of Chinese martial arts. The current Olympic sport of karate is divided into two disciplines. One is kumite, or bouts, and the other is kata, prescribed forms. Traditional Ryukyu karate emphasizes the training of the hands, including the fingers and the fist, based on the concept of using the hand as a weapon. In karate, there is a hand technique known as shuto, or hand sword, where the palm of the hand is shown towards the opponent. This technique represents a weapon called the sai.
We have just seen an example of how to use the sai. This way of gripping the weapon is called the hontemochi and is equivalent to the shuto when fighting with bare hands. You thrust and hit like this. Thrust, hit, and parry. That's how we do it.
Let's take a closer look. The right hand is in the shuto position. First, the attack is parried with the sai before it is used to strike. The same action is possible with bare hands. The shuto is used to block the attack and strike back. The movements are the same with or without the weapon. This embodies the philosophy that the hand is an extension of the weapon, and the weapon is part of the hand.
The forms of karate and Ryukyu classical martial arts are similar in many ways. The way you parry, the way you keep your distance, the involvement of both hands. Many of these aspects are similar. I think that comparing the two disciplines to see where they are similar and gain a deeper understanding will help further increase the value of the Ryukyu classical martial arts.
Currently, Ryukyu classical martial arts encompasses more than 40 different kata, using 8 different weapons. Ancestral techniques and philosophies are being kept alive to pass on to a new generation.